Can the inmates run the asylum? Can the artists curate the museum? Can the wrestlers promote a wrestling show? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last wrestling podcast. Because if I have a wrestling podcast, everybody else does too, and that means that we are all in. That's right, this is a live-ish review of All In, the independent wrestling show put together primarily, it appears, by Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks, as, frankly, a challenge to WWE. The question that we've wanted to answer for a long time, at least a lot of people in the wrestling industry, do you need to be WWE to put on a major stadium show? The answer is no. Because the Young Bucks have sold out a 10,000-seat arena, something that nobody not named WWE or WCW, or WWF if you insist, has done in decades. This is a truly independent wrestling show, promoted, booked, planned, put together, everything done by the wrestlers themselves. So this is something very rare in professional wrestling or any kind of art. This is something that's never happened before, at least not on this scale. I'm going to be breaking one of the rules of the live-ish review tonight. I am watching the pre-show, the 0 Hour on WGN. And we start off with a fairly corny opening segment, but not as corny as a lot of the stuff that we've seen on Monday Night Raw in the last 15 years or so. Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks come out with championship belts that I don't recognize, to the theme of being the elite, which immediately gets the crowd wrapped up. The main logo for the show is the Bullet Club logo on the screen. The stage looks fantastic. It looks on par with something WWE would do. And frankly, this looks like an arena you could make in WWE 2K18. This place looks amazing. The cameras are all extremely professional. They are having some audio problems, trying to balance the audio levels when Cody Rhodes introduces the show, says, "Welcome to All In!" The audio really cuts out, and they desperately try to balance when he hits the high marks on the words all and in. It doesn't work very well. The Young Bucks then proceed to take a few cheap shots at WWE by saying, "Hey, would anybody else like to see some pyro?" And then they shoot off some not horribly impressive fireworks, as I take that to WWE's recent decision to cut pyro from their budget, thereby making their shows look a little bit worse. They also decide to throw out some free merchandise to the crowd to suck up to them and say, "Hey, on a big wrestling show, you're supposed to have a cameo from a wrestling star. So here's Road Warrior Animal for no apparent reason." It was corny, but if you got the in-jokes, it was funny. The problem is, if you didn't get the in-jokes, if you hadn't been following the build-up to this show, you had no idea what the hell was going on here. But I think they're aiming for the smart fans, or the smarks. The people who, like me, who know what's going on, or at least like to think we do, in professional wrestling. We follow the behind-the-scenes stuff. We follow the Observer, the Torch, that sort of thing. And I think this has a lot of potential. We go to our first match, which is a tag team contest between SoCal Uncensored, or SCU for short, team of Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, against Dem Boys, the Briscoe brothers, who, I admit I have not seen them wrestle in a few years. I don't follow Ring of Honor that closely, but when did they turn into... I mean, they were always Southern stereotypes, but when did they turn into, Duck Dynasty, mudface prepper douchebags? I mean, I don't get this. They look ridiculous. More ridiculous than usual. Fortunately, the Briscoes are playing the heels tonight, and all we know about the story going into this match is that we've got Southern California versus Delaware, because Reasons? Okay. Let's watch the match and see what happens. Good opening match. It did what any good opening match is supposed to do. It warmed up the crowd. A lot of high-paced action. Some very good tag team double teams here. Not a lot of character work from anybody. I think they sort of assumed that everybody in the building knew who they were. And they didn't, and nobody really tried to get their characters over except for, hey, we're professional wrestlers who do cool moves. That's fine. Very nice finish, I think, because it was a reversal of a Doomsday device. They showed Road Warrior Animal earlier in the night, so you have someone doing the Doomsday device. That was actually flipped in mid-air into a power slam for a 1-2-3. Good action. I should point out the Briscoe brothers are the reigning Ring of Honor World Tag Team Champions. The titles were not on the line tonight. However, it's pretty obvious that SoCal Uncensored have now got themselves a title shot. Coming up next, we're going to have something they're calling the Over-Budget Battle Royal, which apparently is an over-the-top rope battle royal where the winner receives a title shot against Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor World's Heavyweight Championship. And that's going to be actually later tonight on the main broadcast of the pay-per-view. So this is a good way to get a whole lot of talent on television. This is on essentially technically network television. This is WGN. This is technically a broadcast network. So kudos to the people behind All In for getting that in the first place. Alright, they've advertised the 30 people for this Battle Royal. They've apparently announced 15. I know Colt Cabana's in it, but I haven't really been following the announcement all that much. They do seem to have cleared up their audio issues, at least until somebody takes the house mic again. The announced team so far, despite the presence of Don Callis, is doing pretty good. They're calling the action straight down the middle. There's a third guy at the booth, Excalibur, a masked wrestler, providing the wrestler's point of view that I didn't actually realize was there until he was specifically addressed by the play-by-play guy. So coming up next, they're apparently going to do an interview with Kenny Omega, followed by the over-budget Battle Royal. Alright, Kenny Omega does an interview apparently from the inside of a fish tank, considering the audio. And they take another dig at WWE where they show that the interviewer is standing with her legs spread apart and that Omega is standing on his tiptoes to make him look taller and her look shorter. This is something WWE really does. They'll actually have people have the wrestlers stand on boxes and have the announcers stand with their feet apart to make them shorter, to make the wrestlers look bigger. Omega says, no. This is All In. We don't do that here. We are wrestlers of the people. We give you what you want. And what you want is Kenny Omega versus Pentagon Jr. He mentions that Pentagon is a former TNA heavyweight champion, and that he is the reigning IWGP heavyweight champion. He did not have the belt itself on him in the interview, so I hope he actually has it when he comes out. The title not on the line tonight. What they did not mention was that Pentagon Jr. is the reigning, at least as of what has aired so far on television, is the reigning Lucha Underground champion, the holder of the Aztec Gold. So, little disappointed that Lucha Underground didn't get any love in this, but hopefully that can be corrected a little bit later. We then have a hype package for what I thought was the main event. Apparently we've got like 7 main events for this show. But Cody Rhodes challenging Nick Aldis, formerly known as Magnus in TNA, for Nick Aldis's NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, the same belt that his father held once upon a time. By he I mean Cody. And they do a nice package showing some of the history. They show Dusty, they show Ric Flair, they show Harley Race, all with the NWA title belt. Frankly, while this new Billy Corgan version of the NWA made a bit of a splash about a year or so ago, I haven't gotten on the bandwagon with that. I love the NWA World's Heavyweight title belt. I put it on my top 10 best belt list for a reason. I hope this is the show that helps bring that belt back to, or that's a step up in that belt, for that belt in prominence. And I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm thinking Cody walks out of this as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Because that way we can have eventually a Cody versus Omega champion versus champion match. That would be awesome. Alright, we come back to the arena. We've got people without shirts on standing around the ring. So presumably those are wrestlers getting ready for this over-budget battle royal. That was one of the best battle royals I've ever seen. Okay, over-the-top rope battle royals are usually a complete cluster mess because you can only really be focusing, at least the camera can only focus on one thing at a time. So you have a lot of people who just grab a rope or grab a corner and just sort of sit there, or go out under the bottom rope, through the middle ropes, whatever, and sit there for a while. A lot of that happened in this match. But this match had star power. This match had a bunch of individual stories that were told, and this match had one hell of a finish. Hopefully that's going to be a thing tonight, is one hell of a finish. Okay, first of all, my inner 13-year-old or my inner 12-year-old watching wrestling in my early days watching wrestling, one of my favorite wrestlers, and I'd say still my favorite gimmick of all time, is the Hurricane. Hurricane Helms as "Stand back! There's a hurricane coming through." He was in this match as the Hurricane, and he actually hit the freaking chokeslam! Throughout a great deal of the Hurricane's run in WWE, part of his gimmick was he would tease hitting a chokeslam on somebody, but because he wasn't really tall enough, or didn't really have super strength, to actually pull that move off convincingly, they never let him actually hit it. Or very rarely let him hit it. I don't remember him ever doing it. He actually hit it twice, successfully, before getting thrown out. We had some legends in this match. We had Tommy Dreamer, dressed up essentially as Dusty Rhodes, complete with the bionic elbow. We had Bully Ray, who made it to the last two. We had home hero, Bully Ray, really going with the bully gimmick, being just an asshole to everybody. A former Chikara, Rey de Voladores, in Chuck Taylor, a.k.a. Chucky T, alongside Trent Beretta as the tag team in the Battle Royal. You had just a bunch of really random characters. The son of Billy Gunn, apparently. Looks like he probably should be. You can never really tell with wrestling if the family relationship is real. He was in this match. He looked pretty good. His father was in it with him, so they had a couple father-son moments that were okay. The Zombie Princess, Jimmy Jacobs, a former minion of the Flood, was in this match, and he decided to make himself look like a heel by imitating WWE. As in, he does the masturbation fist drop of John Cena's, and then teases doing the pedigree to somebody, actually waving hello to Triple H in the process. That gets reversed on him. The crowd was into this match. They were cheering the heels being eliminated. They were booing the babyfaces being eliminated. Again, they sort of assumed that you knew who these people were. Nobody got introductions. Which is ballsy for the first show of any promotion, I think. Now, it appeared that the final two were local hero Colt Cabana and the evil Bully Ray. Bully Ray eliminates Colt Cabana, and it looks like he's won the match. However, a character that Bully Ray had put through a table, had pulled out of the ring under the ropes, thereby not eliminating him, and put through through a table earlier, was basically this guy in a green and yellow mask with the words "Never Job" on his shirt, or on the top of his ring gear. That I'd never seen this guy before, I'd never heard of this guy before, and I like to think I know my masked wrestlers. So I was kind of wondering, okay, who the hell is that? I thought for a second he was just there to go through a table, and that was going to be it, but I'm glad they didn't let the dangling plot thread hang, because this guy sneaks back into the ring, eliminates Bully Ray to win the bout and the title shot. He then unmasks himself, actually no, he unmasks himself first to reveal Flip Gordon. Flip Gordon is a guy that I became aware of during Best of the Super Juniors this past year, and he's been campaigning for All In to become a part of All In, saying basically with T-shirts that read "Book Flip," as in Book Flip Gordon for All In. There was actually a sign in the crowd before the match as they were going around the ring showing everybody. Interesting format, by the way. They didn't have everybody just stand in the ring as people showed up. They had the wrestlers around the ring, and they were only permitted to enter the ring once the bell rang. However, Flip Gordon, there was a sign during that 360 shot with the camera. There was a sign that said, "If Flip isn't booked, we riot." Flip Gordon makes his way into All In, worms his way into All In under the mask, very Captain AWL-like, and wins a title shot against Jay Lethal for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship, which there is no way in hell he's going to win, later tonight. That's it for the pre-show. Now it's time for the actual All In event. A woman that I've never heard of sings the national anthem, and she's quite good. They run down the announcers run down the card. They're still telling us that the main event is supposed to be this trios match between the Golden Elite and Rey Mysterio, Phoenix, and someone I've honestly never heard of named Bandito. Unless that's CM Punk under that mask, that's not the main event. I'm sorry. You've got the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship being defended. You've got the IWGP Heavyweight Champion against Pentagon in what is quite frankly an interpromotional dream match. I'm sorry. You've got to have... I love the idea of a trios match main event, but I don't think that's it. I know the Bucks are in it. I know Kota Ibushi's one of the best in the world. I know Rey Mysterio is a legend. I know Phoenix is one of the best in the world. I have no idea who Bandito is, but that's not your main event. I'm sorry. The opening contest for the main show is going to be Matt Cross versus MJF. I'm not sure who MJF is. They're calling him one of the best-kept secrets in professional wrestling, at least I think that's the one they're referring to. Matt Cross, I know him by a different name, but he is a very talented wrestler with an unbelievably impressive beard. And they're going to be in a singles match to start off the main card. For the second time tonight, a good opening match. This shows that they are booking for the television show and not necessarily for the audience, which I think is actually a good thing. You have to appeal to what's hopefully going to be the bigger audience. This MJF character is basically a sort of spoiled, rotten, rich kid, preppy, I'm better than you type of guy, and that's fairly one-dimensional, but he's a young kid, he'll grow into the character. Good back-and-forth action. The story was the young upstart jerk versus the veteran in Matt Cross, who I didn't realize has been wrestling since 1999, a bloody near 20-year veteran, which actually makes a lot of sense considering how good he is. He winds up winning the match with a shooting star press. Match, honestly, this is one of those matches nobody's going to remember 3 hours from now, let alone 3 years from now. But it again got the crowd after the Battle Royal, after really the peak and the action of the Battle Royal. This was something to bring the crowd down a little bit and hopefully rest them before we build them back up to the crescendo of the main event. So, good job all around. We have a quick backstage interview with Nick Aldis, being conducted by former WWF play-by-play guy Sean Mooney. And Nick Aldis, he comes in, talks about the prestige of the 10 pounds of gold, which he sort of had in the camera shot and sort of didn't. And frankly, he came across as incredibly choppy. Nick Aldis, I've been following him since his days as Oblivion on Gladiators, and he's a better promo than this. What the hell happened? So that was disappointing. Okay, the next match is our celebrity involvement match. The Fallen Angel Christopher Daniels, a 20-plus year veteran and ring general, versus the star of the CW show Arrow, or Green Arrow, Stephen Amell. That's right, Oliver Queen back in wrestling. He's had a couple of matches with WWE against Cody when Cody was known as Stardust, and Stardust was thinking that Amell was a real life superhero and therefore he had to be the supervillain, blah blah blah. Amell, for a celebrity playing wrestler fantasy camp, did a really good job in WWE. And with somebody like Daniels to carry him through the match, this should be pretty good. This match is being refereed by Jerry Lynn, who apparently is now going by the moniker The New Reffin' Show, because puns are funny. Okay, hang on a minute. Before we actually start the match, I want to point out, one, when did Stephen Amell officially become a member of Bullet Club? Because if he is, that's freaking awesome. Two, he's coming out with a vest that has the logo for Vigilante Club with the Arrow domino mask. Awesome. And he's being accompanied to the ring by Josh, I'm going to mispronounce his name, Segara, who played Adrian Chase, one of the major villains, Vigilante, in the Arrow TV series. So, did I miss something? Also, I kind of want a Vigilante Club t-shirt now. Okay, I'm guessing the studio didn't sign off on this, because Amell took quite a few bumps, including putting himself through a table via a top rope elbow drop on a rather badly prone Daniels. Daniels takes a bump off of the ring apron and basically casually lays himself on the table. That looked absolutely terrible. Unless he was obviously playing possum, in which case Amell is an idiot for falling for it. Other move of note, Amell hits a coast-to-coast drop kick, although his legs were shaking as he was standing on the top rope. In the end, Christopher Daniels wins the match with the best moonsault ever. And again, as far as Celebrity Fantasy Camp goes, this is good. This also represents Stephen Amell's first loss in professional wrestling. It's also his singles debut. So, while I can't imagine that CW is particularly happy with Amell doing something like this that could really hurt him, it worked. It was really good. Coming up next, we've got a women's match, as I understand it. So we've introduced a couple of women to the announce table. So we now have a 4-person announce booth, 2 men and 2 women. And one of them is Tennille Dashwood, formerly known as Emma, and briefly known as Evolution in WWE. She's gone back to what I believe is her natural brunette hair color, and she looks really, really good. She's seated next to someone else that I'm not really familiar with, and we're going to be having a four corners match, a 4-way match between Tessa Blanchard, pronounce that correctly, Chelsea Green, Madison Rayne, and Britt Baker. Tessa Blanchard, I'm familiar with. Same with Madison Rayne from the Beautiful People. Chelsea Green and Britt Baker I'm being introduced to for the first time. This is apparently a survival match or an elimination match. And let's see what happens. Okay, first of all, I was wrong. Survival match apparently means one fall to a finish, but that doesn't make any sense. But okay, we'll let that go. Finally, we have some character work. We had people with character. Oh, goodness gracious me, thank God. Specifically, Chelsea Green, with her character as sort of a Jekyll and Hyde, Two-Face style psychopath, had some good character work early on. Tessa Blanchard got to have cameos from her father, and Magnum TA, and if you know your wrestling history, that should tell you something. And Britt Baker, who is apparently a dentist, a real dentist in real life. She shows up with sort of the, I'm going to kick your teeth out, but at least I'll be able to put them back in sort of character. Comes out kind of in a lab coat. and they make an Isaac Yankem reference, which I thought was funny. Great action, up, down, and sideways. Unfortunately, the character stuff kind of fell away by the end of the match. Again, great action, not a lot of story. The finish was kind of interesting. Tessa Blanchard gets the pin, but it looked like there was supposed to be a breakup, and either that wasn't in time, or the breakup wasn't supposed to look as good as it did, because I genuinely thought the referee screwed up and counted 3 when he wasn't supposed to. That's apparently what a good chunk of the crowd thought too, because they started booing the finish. And this is the kind of smart-ass crowd that, if they think you screwed up the finish, they will let you know about it. Several points in the match, the crowd chant. I think it was a "This is awesome" chant. There was definitely an all in promotion chant, which I guess is a good thing. I'm always kind of conflicted about that. But great action, back and forth. All of these women looked good, and it was a showcase for them. However, something I realized that isn't wrong necessarily, but that has been off about this match, this show, every match on this show, is that these have all felt like exhibition matches. They haven't really felt, with the exception of, ironically, the pre-show, where title shots appeared to be on the line. None of these matches seem like they're going to have any real consequences going forward. And the fact that all 4 of these women did the mutual raising of arms, how nice are we, by the end. In-ring, good match. Storytelling, so-so at best. Okay, coming up next, we have what I thought should be the main event of this show, because you have the National Wrestling Alliance World's Heavyweight Championship on the line. Champion Nick Aldis defending against the American Nightmare Cody with Brandy Rhodes. Can we just call him Cody fucking Rhodes? Can we please just call him by his full name? But I'm getting off track again. We've still got about 3 hours left in the show, and this is the biggest title match you've got, because last I checked, you've got the Ring of Honor title that's going to be on the line later. The IWGP title is not on the line. And you've got this Rey Mysterio Golden Elite Trios match. Is that really your main event? No disrespect to any of the 6 men in the ring. I have great deal of respect for Kota Ibushi, Rey Mysterio, Phoenix, the Young Bucks, and I have no idea who Bandito is, so no disrespect intended there. I don't know anything about the guy. But that doesn't scream main event to me. Maybe Cody's deliberately putting himself essentially at the bottom of the mid-card because he feels, he doesn't want to be his father and make the whole show about him. But if we're getting the title change that I'm predicting here, that should be your frickin' main event. So they better have, either this better not be a title change, or they better have an ace so far up their sleeve it's massaging their shoulder blades. But let's take it as it is. The NWA World Heavyweight Championship on the line. Aldis, Cody, for the 10 pounds of gold. One more note before I get into this. We also have a guest commentator, if I can get this right, Brent... What's the guy's last name? Yeah, this is professional as I look this up while I'm talking. Brent Tarring. Just Googled this guy, and oh, holy shit. Mad respect, not going to criticize your commentary in any way. You're replacing Don Callis, so that's good. Nothing but respect. Google this man, Brent Tarring, Tarring. I could not go through what this man has gone through. Back to the match.
here's your winner, and the new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the World, the American Nightmare, Cody!
Damn, that was good! Okay, 1, match of the night so far. 2, because told a coherent story from start to finish. Easy 3-act structure, had the build-up, had the payoff, had the obstacles for the hero to overcome, clearly delineated hero and villain, and just enough awesome moments for longtime wrestling fans, especially longtime fans of Cody. If you followed him his entire career, then you got a lot of treats tonight. Both men come out with an entourage. Cody comes out with Diamond Dallas Page, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, comes out with Tommy frickin' Dreamer, comes out with his family, his father-in-law, his wife, and even his dog. You know, a boy and his dog coming to the ring. Nick Aldis comes out with Daivari, Jeff Jarrett, Tim Storm, and some other guy. And it was a fantastic match, psychologically well put together. Not the most spectacular, athletic match of the night. Cody doesn't do that. He's been described as the king of the 3-star match, and frankly, I agree with that. But psychologically, this match was incredibly well put together. They had a tease of an injury. They did a spot where it looked like, where Cody comes off the top rope. It looks like Oblivion. I'm just going to call him Oblivion. I'm enough of a Gladiators fan. I'm calling him Oblivion. Hits him with an elbow. And I don't know if there was like a delay in doing the blade job, but there was a blade job here. Earl Hebner, who was the referee of the match, throws up the X sign indicating a legitimate injury. I don't like when that's played for storyline, but it worked well here. And Cody is down for a couple of minutes. Daivari comes out, insisting that the match be thrown out, because he's on Aldis's side. And he goes in and actually physically shoves Earl Hebner. Diamond Dallas Page has exactly none of this crap, because he come out to help Cody, inspiring a yoga, yoga chant. He sees Daivari attacking Hebner in the ring. DDP rolls into the ring. Diamond Cutter! Bang! I loved it. Fantastic to see the Diamond Cutter. And executed perfectly. He still has it, at least for that. We eventually have a little bit of a plot hole in the contest, because we get to a point where Brandy Rhodes gets dragged into the ring, Cody's wife, and she winds up throwing herself onto her husband to protect him from a top rope elbow drop by Nick Aldis. And he winds up hitting Brandy flush with the elbow, provoking an anatomy chant, asshole, asshole, from the crowd. Couple of problems with this. One, how is this not a Actually, no. No, it wasn't a plot hole. Earl Hebner mentioned at the beginning of the match that the only way the bout could end was by pinfall or submission in the ring, which means it was no disqualification. So, okay, that's fine. The other little problem was, especially on looking at the replay, Aldis, they were kind of playing it up that Aldis was, in mid-air when Brandy threw herself onto her husband, so Aldis had already committed himself, trying to give Aldis a little bit of an out on the deliberately attacking a woman thing, which is kind of ironic considering the next match on the card, but we'll stay out of that. And it didn't work. It was clear that Aldis was on the top rope. He had not leapt, he had not jumped, he had not leapt by the time Brandy was on top of Cody, so that was a bit of a screw up. But very, very minor quibble, because Cody breaks out all the offense. We see the Alabama Slam from Cody. We see the Crossroads. We see basically everything, a couple of Goldust moves even. We wind up, the finish is an attempted sunset flip by Oblivion, which is countered into essentially a jackknife by Cody. 1, 2, 3. and we have a new NWA World Heavyweight Championship champion, the 94th World Heavyweight Champion of the National Wrestling Alliance in 70 years. Going into the 70th year of the NWA with Cody as champion, a title that his father held, he now holds. Now, I don't want to go into the backstage of this. I don't know the backstage of this. Is it corny that the promoter booked himself to become the world champion? Yes. Is that a perfect homage to Dusty Rhodes? Also yes. But this was a beautiful, feel-good moment. Honestly, I'm still in shock that this was not the main event. This needed to be the main event. This was the send the crowd home happy moment. But it is what it is. We've still got a couple of hours left on the show. The next match is a Chicago street fight between the Bullet Club's Hangman Page and Joey Janela with a woman named Penelope Ford. Not familiar with Joey Janela very much, or Penelope Ford. Do know Hangman Page from his work in both Ring of Honor and New Japan Pro Wrestling. I'm going to point out that it's really weird the way they've got the graphic here, because the way the match graphic looks, hopefully I've got that visual for you on your screen right now. Is it just me, or does this look like an intergender match? Does this look like Hangman Page is facing the lady with the pearls there, who I presume is Penelope Ford, and the person in the back is the guest referee or something? Very, very strange job by the graphics department, which is probably just a guy. Still, should be interesting. Chicago street fight. Hopefully that means what it sounds like, because they've already kind of whiffed on a couple of stipulations tonight. But let's see what happens. So apparently Hangman Page is a murderer. What? Okay, really weird. Okay, before the match actually starts, really weird looking video package that involves talking cowboy boots, because wrestling. Apparently Joey Ryan, the guy who's been making himself a name for doing the penis suplex. Can't believe I'm saying that. Got into a feud with Hangman Page, accusing him of having a fake penis. What happened to wrestling? Apparently ended with Hangman Page killing Joey Ryan with a telephone. And now he's having a wrestling match with a guy named Joey. Okay, somebody in the comments tell me what the hell is going on here. I hate this match and everything associated with it. Everybody involved in this match must be banned from wrestling forever. Okay, the match sucked, but I'm not going to go that far. Oh, this was horrible. This was terrible. This was horrible. This was... Ah! I don't have words for this. Oh, God. What happened to wrestling? Okay. I like comedy in my wrestling. I don't mind hardcore when it serves a purpose. I even really like a little bit of the supernatural in my wrestling. But you can't do all three at once. Especially when your humor isn't funny, your hardcore is done extremely badly, and your supernatural is an offense to everything good and decent in the world. Okay, this was the epitome of a shitty hardcore match. They took 10 hours to set up a 5-second spot, and they did that about 5 or 6 times. They brought in the murder weapon. They brought in the talking cowboy boots. They made Donkey Kong jokes using a literal Cracker Barrel because product placement. And then at the end, after Hangman Page manages to win the match. Oh, by the way, somebody won the match, not that anybody cares. It turns out that Joey Ryan's penis is the Undertaker. They did a full Undertaker resurrection spot with druids dressed as giant inflatable penises. This was stupid. I'm sorry, worst match of the night, worst match of the year, worst match of wrestling. I don't agree with Jim Cornette on a lot. And I've seen Joey Ryan do good stuff. He's good in Lucha Underground because they gave him a character that isn't supposed to be a good wrestler. But, Jesus. And from this, we're going to a backstage segment with the Ring of Honor World Champion, Jay Lethal. Ring of Honor should sue for that. Ring of Honor should sue Cody Rhodes and the Young Bucks for being put in a position to follow the penis druids. Fuck this match. No, you know what? I don't take it back. Fuck this match and everybody involved in it. Okay, before the match, Jay Lethal is making his way to the ring, and somebody hands him a pair of Macho Man Randy Savage sunglasses and slaps him on the back, and this somehow turns him into his alter ego, Black Machismo Jay Lethal. Okay, a mild Curryman reference from Christopher Daniels early in the night in the Yamel match was funny. I liked it. If he really comes out as Black Machismo, I'm sorry to think Ring of Honor really should sue. I think they're being buried here. Yep, Black Machismo. And you know what? I kind of like it. Especially since, apparently this has gotten the okay from the Macho Man's brother, Leaping Lanny Poffo. And, you know, it's not a gimmick for the ROH World Champion, but as sort of a one, because I've got a horrible feeling where this is going. It could be that because it's Flip Freaking Gordon, Lethal is not taking this match seriously, and, you know, he's coming out in his old comedy shtick, and that's going to cost him the match and possibly the title? Flip Gordon, ROH World Champion? No. Sorry, kid. Not going to happen tonight. But yeah, Black Machismo's back, and you know what? For a show that's been doing quite a bit of nostalgia for something that's supposed to be about the modern evolution of the industry, you know what? After this, maybe I was being a little nasty after the stupidity of the penis druids. I still have to say that. That's always going to be a thing that happened in wrestling. But okay, Black Machismo. Ooh yeah, I dig it. That was better than it had any right to be. Okay, so apparently the thing is that Jay Lethal is King Tut from the Adam West Batman series, because anytime he gets lightly tapped on the shoulder, he switches personalities from Jay Lethal to Black Machismo and back again. Okay, sure, why not? Yeah, go with it. I'm willing to go with that. Lots of comedy in this match, a lot of historic comedy. Big screw up by the announcers when Flip Gordon decided to channel the soul of Hulk Hogan for some reason. Interestingly, that it's easier to get away with doing Hulk Hogan than being Hulk Hogan in 2018, and that makes me happy on the inside. Flip Gordon comes out with Brandy Rhodes. Apparently, they've got a friendship in the Being the Elite series, which is starting to turn out you really need to have watched before you get into the show. Good match. It had a bad time trying to drag the crowd back to professional wrestling after the clusterfuck that they just saw. But they did it well. Jay Lethal eventually hits, I believe it was the lethal injection, to win the match and retain the Ring of Honor World Championship. Good. That was not a title change that needed to happen tonight. Coming up next, we've got The Cleaner, Kenny Omega, the IWGP, Heavy Cuoza versus the Campeonato de Lucha Underground, Penta El Zero M. And I'm just going to call him Pentagon Dark, Cero Miedo. So this, for me, is a dream match. This is champion versus... They're not going to acknowledge it as such, but for me, this is champion versus champion of two promotions that I love. They're now trying to tell me this is a triple main event. Bullshit. There is one main event, and it's the last match on the card. So don't... double main events you can occasionally, maybe, kind of, sort of get away with. Triple, screw you. Okay. I want to see this match. I'm really hyped for this. Kenny Omega versus Pentagon. Here we go. Nobody's gonna give a damn about what happened in this match. After the match, which was fantastic, neither man coming out with their title belt, nobody ever acknowledged that Pentagon is the reigning, as of what is aired on television, Lucha Underground champion. But after a really good back-and-forth match that was around the story of can Kenny Omega hit the one-winged angel to beat Pentagon? Yes, he can. 1, 2, 3. Although they didn't protect Pentagon's arm breaker move at all. Frankly, I don't think he should ever go for that move in a match unless it's the finish. That should be his Razor's Edge. Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, very famous for refusing to even attempt the Razor's Edge unless he knew that was going to be the finish. He never let anybody kick out of it. He didn't let people dodge it. And Pentagon should protect the arm breaker to that degree, I think. And now for the stuff everybody cares about. After the match, the lights go out as they essentially pull a switcheroo. Pentagon is replaced by somebody wearing identical gear to Pentagon, but with different arm tattoos. And that turns out to be Chris Jericho in disguise. Now, Chris Jericho had previously said that he thought an indie show like All In was kind of beneath him. That turned out to have been a work. Good for him. Here's my problem with this. So, Chris Jericho had to sneak into the building, sneak into Pentagon's gear bag, steal his complete set of backup wrestling gear, including a backup mask, do up the makeup under the mask with a skeleton effect and the black around the eyes, somehow maybe bribe the tech crew to turn out the lights, sneak into the ring, nobody indicates Pentagon was in on this, get Pentagon out of the ring against his will. I mean, granted, he had just been defeated, but he's not the type to go quietly, in order to pull this scam off. This is way too complicated if you think about it for more than about 30 seconds. But nobody was, because, hey, Chris Jericho's here. Cool. Jericho hits Omega with a couple of code breakers, says, Kenny Omega, I will see you on the Jericho Cruise, which, okay, cool, let him plug his own show, that's nice. Star power on the card, yay. Way too convoluted when you think about it for more than a minute, but it worked. It popped the crowd huge, and this is going to be something people are going to be talking about, but it overshadows what was a really good match. Coming up next, we have our one-sided squash, I think, is what this is going to be. The Rainmaker, Okada Kazuchika versus the Villain, Marty Scurll. Now, I have not been watching anything in New Japan since the G1 Climax, so I'm not sure. Has Okada fully recovered from his major psychological breakdown after losing the IWGP Heavyweight Championship to Kenny Omega. Is he going to come out as the Rainmaker, or is he going to come out as that lazy nutter with the balloons? We're about to find out, although the way this show is going, I would have expect him to come out as Okato, Samoa Joe's Green Hornet ally. Well, they got over the Martin Scurll finger-snapping gimmick. Cool beans. This is going to sound like an insult, but it really, really isn't. This was exactly the match I expected to see. We got, I'd say, 90% of the Rainmaker on this one. He did come out to the modified music, and he still has the red hair. But he dropped the Okada bucks. He was wearing the full Rainmaker attire, no balloons, and he made it rain. So, yeah, he was the Rainmaker. They told a very simple story of Okada being Scurll's complete and obvious superior, so Scurll having to resort to agility, dodging, and dirty tricks in order to get any kind of advantage over Okada, which he did on more than a few occasions. Okada sold quite a bit. Okada sold the finger snap, which, I'm sorry, this is my same problem that I have with Pentagon Dark's arm breaker, is that if you've broken somebody's bone, they are out of the fight. You can make an argument on a minor separation or a minor break that, adrenaline keeps them going for a couple of minutes, but no, I'm sorry, if you've actually fully broken somebody's bone, they're out. They're done. Match over. No, this is, people no-selling a broken bone is like a man no-selling a nut shot. Anybody who has ever been kicked in the nuts knows that you are down and out. You are not going to be participating in an athletic contest. So, good match. I won't say that Okada phoned it in, but he didn't really seem to be going at full speed. A bit of a waste, unfortunately, considering the obvious travel involved getting him to Chicago. But it was fine for what it was. It was the semifinal match. That triple main event thing is bullshit. So we are moving on now to the main event of the evening. The Young Bucks and Kota Ibushi, collectively known as the Golden Elite, versus Bandito, Rey Fenix, or just Phoenix as I know him, and Rey Mysterio Jr. We've got former Campeonatos de Parejas in the Young Bucks, former King of Trios winner in Rey Fenix, and the 2009 Rey de Voladores in Kota Ibushi, and of course a living legend, Rey Mysterio, and some guy named Bandito. I did actually just do a quick Google search on him. Apparently a real guy, so I don't think that's going to be CM Punk under the mask. In fact, I'm not expecting CM Punk to show up at all. We've seen neither hide nor hair of Barry the Business Bear, who was kind of expected to be CM Punk in the costume, at least at All In. So I don't think Punk's going to show up, and he hasn't exactly ingratiated himself to the fans lately. Okay, main event trios match for some reason. I keep cutting into something on the entrance. I completely forgot that Rey Fenix is now the reigning AAA Mega Champion. So, yeah, congratulations. I forgot, he won that thing at Triple Mania, didn't he? Oops. Also, Rey Mysterio is Wolverine, and that is frickin' awesome! Oh, somebody fucked up their timing! Okay, major audio screw-up very early in this match. I clearly heard somebody saying, "We gotta go home now." And throughout the match, I could hear either the referee or somebody desperately giving time cues to the wrestlers that they had to get the hell out of there now, because the pay-per-view window was apparently closing. So this match was incredibly rushed. It was a high-action spot fest for what little of it we got. I'm not going to be too critical on this because it's clearly not the match they had planned out. They had to rush ridiculously fast to get out of there, and in fact the goodbyes from the announce team got cut off on the feed that I was watching. So yeah, kind of a big technical screw up here. Final thoughts. This was a show that tried to do too much. There was an amazing amount of hype that they had to live up to, and I think for the most part they did. The problem is that the show suffered from a lot of rookie mistakes. The match order was wrong. The main event went on with 2.5 hours left in the show, and that's the NWA title match. That should have been the main event. That was the main event as far as story goes. I would have actually had the trios match be the semifinal or whatever it was supposed to be the semifinal, just to have that high-paced, high-action semifinal main event 1-2 punch, and because they were completely different matches, you could get away with that. But I think for a first effort of a wrestler-promoted mega show, and I just double-checked while I was watching this, nobody sold out a 10,000-seat arena other than WCW and WWE since 1993. More than 20 years, going on 25, and the Bucks did it. The Bucks and Cody, they did it. And this show, aside from a few audio problems, the camera cut out, I think, once, and the unfortunate timing problems at the end, technically speaking, from a production standpoint, this was equal to WWE or better. The pyro really helped. Everything looked professional. Everything looked good. You didn't get the feeling that this was the first rodeo for most of these people as far as putting on a pay-per-view. Good use of old stars and new stars, modern stars, future stars, etc. Introduced me to some new talent that I wasn't familiar with, so I do appreciate that. I need to look more into this Bandito guy. He's really good. So for a final grade, and I've been dodging around the bush here, the unfunny, bad, hardcore penis druid match. Ugh. I'm going to take a full letter grade off for that. It was so bad, it was so stupid, it ground the show to a complete halt and made everybody involved look terrible. I am going to have to take off another half grade because of the major technical problems with the main event, the timing problem, and the fact that they didn't cover it at all. You could hear the desperation, you could see it in the faces of everybody in the ring, especially Rey Mysterio once he realized, dude, we've got 2 minutes before we go off the air. And he had to cover that. And I imagine there were some communication problems there as well, since I'm pretty sure... I'm not sure how good Ibushi's English is, and I'm not sure how good Phoenix and Bandito's English is either. Well, actually, Phoenix can speak English fairly well. Bandito, I have no idea. But everything else was either good to great. I wish I could give this a higher grade, but there were so many storytelling problems and technical problems that I'm going to stretch. The best grade I can give this is a B. I'm going to start from an A-, take off a grade for the horrible hardcore match, take off another half grade for the technical and storytelling problems, and that's going to give them a B. Best I can do. Well, but the point is, they did it. They put on a professional pay-per-view in 2018 without any corporate backing. They had a few sponsors, but no multi-million dollar corporations behind them. And did this change the wrestling world forever? I don't think so. But did this make some ripples? Hell yes, it did. And I look forward to seeing what they do for All In too, assuming it happens. And I am assuming it happens. This has been the Last Wrestling Podcast. I'm Ryu Sensei. Thank you for your time. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enable notifications. And we'll see you next time. Bye.